Too often, we settle for less than we deserve, accepting mediocrity in our relationships, careers, and personal growth because we've convinced ourselves it's good enough. But here's the truth. Your life expands or shrinks to the level of the standards you refuse to compromise on. Ladies, if you're tired of feeling stuck, unfulfilled, or held back by self-imposed limits, it's time for a radical shift. In this video, we're diving deep into why your standards dictate your reality and how upgrading them can unlock the extraordinary life you're meant to live. Get ready to challenge your mindset, because when you change your standards, you don't just change your circumstances, you change your entire life. There's an invisible threshold in your life, a line that defines everything you accept, tolerate, and settle for. That line is your standard. It's not what you wish for or talk about. It's what you allow, what you repeat, even when it's difficult. Ever wondered why the same struggles keep showing up? Why success seems within reach but then slips away? Why bad habits linger? Or why certain people and circumstances keep resurfacing? The answer is simple. Your standards haven't changed. People say they want more. They dream of transformation. But unless they raise their standards, nothing shifts. You don't get what you wish for, you get what you tolerate. You don't attract what you dream about, you attract what your standards demand. Writing down goals is easy. Talking about change is easy. But real change happens only when your standards rise, when the way you operate at your core shifts. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who repeat the same cycles. Two people can face the same challenges, start with the same tools, and yet one rises while the other stays stuck. What separates them? Standards. The person who elevates their standards consistently, not just occasionally, creates a different reality. Not just once, but again and again. Your standards aren't set by your words, they're revealed by your actions. When it's inconvenient, when no one is watching, when it's hard, that's where transformation begins. And here's the good news. Your standards are not permanent. They're not written in stone. You can raise them. You can decide right now that what was acceptable yesterday is no longer acceptable today. You can choose to break free from the limits of your past. Because when you raise your standards, everything shifts. Your habits change, your energy changes, your relationships, confidence, and results all rise to meet your new level. You don't have to force transformation. It becomes automatic. When your standards elevate, old excuses no longer fit. You stop struggling to break your limits because you've moved the line entirely. Want a new life? Change what you demand from yourself. Change what you refuse to tolerate. Change what you consider normal. Your standards act as a thermostat of your life. No matter how high or low things go, you'll always return to that setting. That's why people win the lottery and lose it all. That's why people get in shape and gain it back, because their external results changed, but their internal standards. You cannot outperform your standards for long. You can push past them temporarily with effort, motivation, or hype, but eventually you'll settle back into what feels normal to you. So, raise the bar. Redefine what's normal. Set a new standard and watch your life rise to meet it. Your life is a reflection of what you've been willing to accept, not what you've wished for, not what you've hoped would change. If you want to see real transformation, you must make a firm decision. No more settling, no more tolerating the bare minimum, no more playing small. The moment you decide that the old way is no longer an option, everything shifts. You start showing up differently. Your actions align with your new standard, and suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Look at the most successful, disciplined, and fulfilled people you admire. Do you think they simply got lucky? No. They raised their standards. They refused to operate at the level of mediocrity, inconsistency, or excuses. When your standards rise, you no longer try to be disciplined, you just are. You no longer force yourself to take action, you just do. You no longer struggle to stay committed. It becomes who you are. Your standards shape your identity, and your identity dictates your results. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, who always falls short, who never follows through, guess what? That belief becomes your reality. But when you shift your identity, when you declare, I am someone who follows through, I am someone who expects excellence, I am someone who refuses to settle, everything starts to change. Your actions will always follow who you believe you are. That's why raising your standards isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. So ask yourself, what have I been tolerating that I need to eliminate? What area of my life needs a new standard? What would my life look like if I stopped settling? Don't wait for the right time. Decide today. Draw the line. Set the new standard. Start operating at that level, not just once, but every single day. Because when you do, your results won't just change temporarily, your entire life will transform. You're not stuck because you lack ability. You're stuck because you haven't fully adapted to the new level. Your mindset, beliefs, and identity haven't caught up. And that's the hidden barrier that keeps so many people from lasting change. They push forward just enough to get a glimpse of more, but not enough to sustain it. They increase their effort, but don't shift their standards, so they fall back. And when they do, doubt creeps in. They start believing, maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I don't have what it takes. But the truth is they do have what it takes. What they're missing isn't skill. It's a shift in identity. To lock in the next level, you have to redefine who you are. You must decide that the old way of living, the shortcuts, the excuses, the inconsistency is no longer acceptable. You don't postpone it. You don't wait for the right time. You draw the line and say, that version of me is gone. Not someday. Now, this isn't just about achieving goals or doing something impressive. It's about shifting your identity. Because when you raise your standard, your actions follow. When your self-image expands, your behavior changes. You don't have to force it. It becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. Most people focus on how high they can reach, always asking, what's my potential? But the real question is, how low am I willing to go? That's what shapes your life, not your highest moments, but your baseline. If your default setting is chaos, inconsistency, or distraction, you can have moments of greatness, but they won't last. You'll always return to the level you've accepted as normal. That's why people build success but can't keep it. They change their circumstances, but not their standards. And eventually the old patterns pull them back. But when your standard is excellence, when your baseline is discipline and consistency, you don't fall back. You don't lose progress. You don't rely on bursts of motivation to keep going. You just operate at a different level. And people will ask, how do you stay so focused? How do you keep showing up? How do you get so much done? And the answer is simple. It's just who I am now. It's not something I force. It's something I expect from myself every single day. So how do you change your standard? It starts with an honest moment. No judgment, no guilt, just clarity. Look at your habits, your choices, what you've been tolerating, and ask yourself, is this the person I truly want to be? Most people never stop to ask that. They stay busy, distracted, moving in circles, and because they never reflect, they never challenge their current standard, they never upgrade it. But if you do, if you pause long enough to see the gap between who you are and who you could be, you'll feel it. That discomfort, that's not something to avoid. That's your wake-up call. That's your inner voice reminding you, you were made for more. And the next step, decision. A real decision. You declare from this moment on, I don't tolerate inconsistency. I don't accept mediocrity. I don't live by my past limits. I raise the bar. I raise my standards. I raise me. And once you decide, you act. Not tomorrow, not when it feels convenient, but now. Because action is what makes a new standard real. Action rewires your identity. Action proves to your mind that this time it's different. And here's the truth. Your brain needs that proof. You can talk all day about how serious you are, how committed you feel, how you're ready for change. But until you back it up with action, your mind won't believe you. And it will keep pulling you back to the old pattern. So don't just raise the ceiling, raise the floor. Change what you accept. Change what you expect. Change who you are. And when you do, your life will rise to meet you. When you take action aligned with your new standard, something powerful happens. Your mind starts to accept this as your new normal. What once felt like effort now becomes second nature. The hesitation, the self-doubt, the struggle to stay consistent, it all begins to fade because you are no longer fighting against an old identity. You have stepped into a new one. This is where transformation becomes permanent. Not because of motivation, but because you've reshaped the foundation of your life. Your standards are no longer based on fleeting emotions or external validation. They are deeply embedded in who you are. At this stage, excuses lose their power. You no longer negotiate with yourself about whether you'll show up. You don't wait for the perfect mood or ideal conditions. You simply act because that's the kind of person you've chosen to be. Your relationships begin to shift. You naturally distance yourself from people who operate at a lower standard, not out of arrogance, but because you refuse to be pulled back into patterns that no longer serve you. Instead, you attract those who challenge you, inspire you, and push you to grow. Your energy changes. You carry yourself differently. You speak with more confidence. You take on challenges with a sense of certainty. Why? Because you're no longer hoping for success. You expect it. It's the only outcome that makes sense for someone operating at your level. This is how you break free from cycles of inconsistency. You don't fight to stay at a higher level. You become the person who naturally exists there. Your results aren't temporary because your transformation isn't surface level. It's not a quick fix. It's a deep, unshakable shift in how you live your life. And here's the key. This process never stops. Growth isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. Once you've raised your standard, the next level will always call you. New challenges will arise, not to test you, but to remind you that you were never meant to stay the same. To raise your standards, you must start doing what you once avoided. You follow through when the old version of you would have given up. You execute with clarity and purpose, not because it's easy, but because you've committed to making it your new normal. Every time you do this, you reinforce your transformation. You send a clear message to your nervous system. This is who we are now. You tell your subconscious, this is what we do. And with each repetition, it becomes more natural, more effortless, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Raising your standards is not a one-time decision. It's not something you do once and forget about. It's a daily commitment. Life will test you. It will throw distractions, temptations, and challenges in your path to see if you truly mean what you've said. And this is where most people fall short. They raise their standards in a moment of inspiration, make bold declarations. But the first time life pushes back, they fall back into their old patterns. One bad day turns into a bad week. One slip up becomes a backslide, not because they're weak, but because they didn't build a solid foundation around their new standard. A new standard is only as strong as the structure that supports it. You can't rely on motivation or fleeting emotions. You need a system, a structure, habits, accountability, and rituals that continually remind you of who you are and what you stand for. If you say you're done tolerating inconsistency but haven't created a daily routine to support consistency, your standard will break under pressure. If you say you're committed to better health but your kitchen is full of junk food and your schedule doesn't allow time for exercise, the old habits will win. You need to build around your new identity. Create an environment that reinforces your new standard. Remove the triggers that feed your old patterns. Design your space, your calendar, and your habits in ways that make it easy to live up to your new standard. This also means reevaluating the people you surround yourself with. Your standards will rise or fall based on your circle. You can't expect to elevate your life while staying around people who are content with the bare minimum, who complain, make excuses, and normalize quitting. You don't need people who challenge your value, you need people who challenge your standards. Those who remind you of your potential, hold you accountable, and don't let you settle for less than what you're capable of. If you don't have that kind of circle yet, become that person for yourself. Be your own coach, your own challenger, your own accountability. Set the tone for your environment. When you raise your standard, your circle will start to shift. Either the people around you will rise with you, or they will fall away. And that's part of the process. Growth isn't just about adding new things, it's also about subtraction. You have to let go of the habits, mindsets, and even relationships that no longer serve the new version of you. That's not cruelty, that's clarity, that's commitment. As you build this new standard into your life, you'll encounter internal resistance. The voice in your head will try to pull you back. It will tell you, who do you think you are? It will whisper, you've never done this before. You're not ready. It's too late. You don't have what it takes. But know this, that voice is not the truth. It's the old standard trying to survive. Every time you level up, your subconscious will resist because it wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to keep you within familiar boundaries. But growth isn't about comfort, it's about stepping into the unknown. Safety has never produced greatness. So train your mind to recognize that voice, not as truth, but as a signal, a sign that you're on the verge of a breakthrough, a sign that you're pushing beyond your previous limits, becoming who you were always meant to be. When you face that internal resistance, understand it's not something to avoid. It's something to lean into. The discomfort, the uncertainty, the doubts, they are simply signs that you're moving in the right direction. Each step you take in spite of these fears proves to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. It's in those moments that true transformation happens. As you challenge your old identity and habits, you'll begin to experience a shift in how you perceive yourself. No longer will you see yourself as someone who struggles to maintain consistency or someone who makes excuses when things get tough. You will start to see yourself as someone who follows through, who handles challenges with grace, and who rises above whatever life throws your way. This new self-image isn't just a positive affirmation you repeat, it's a reality that's backed by action. You are not just telling yourself you are capable of greatness. You are proving it day by day, action by action. Every choice, every effort, every small victory reinforces the person you are becoming. This shift in your identity will transform how you handle setbacks as well. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, you will begin to see them as opportunities to prove your new standard. You will no longer be defeated by a bad day, a difficult situation, or an unexpected detour. You will respond with resilience, knowing that setbacks are just a part of the journey, not the end of it. And here's the powerful truth. The more you raise your standards, the more you will start to attract opportunities that align with your new level of thinking and being. You will no longer have to chase after success. It will begin to find you. The world around you starts to reflect the standards you've set for yourself. New people, new opportunities, new experiences will emerge, and they will be in alignment with who you've become. But it's not just about external rewards. The greatest reward is the sense of fulfillment and pride that comes from knowing you are operating at your highest level. You will feel a deep sense of satisfaction in the way you approach each day, the way you handle challenges, and the way you honor your commitments. It's a feeling that's more lasting than any achievement or material success, because it comes from within. As you continue to raise your standards, you will also learn to celebrate your progress, no matter how small. You will recognize that every action, every choice to live up to your new standard is a victory in itself. This ongoing celebration of your growth will fuel your momentum, driving you forward even when things seem difficult. And as you rise to the next level, you realize something profound. Raising your standards isn't just about improving your life. It's about becoming the person you were always meant to be. It's about shedding the old, limited version of yourself and embracing the truth of who you truly are. So don't hold back. Raise your standards with confidence and trust that the life you've always dreamed of is waiting for you on the other side of that decision. Because once you shift your standards, everything else will follow. Your life will change, not because circumstances have changed, but because you have changed. And that is the most powerful transformation of all. That resistance you feel is actually a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. And instead of backing away from it, you take action anyway. That's how you quiet that inner voice. Not by arguing with it or trying to convince it otherwise, but by moving through it. You show yourself that you are no longer held back by fear. Whether it's the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, or the fear of discomfort. Each time you take action in alignment with your new standard, you weaken that old voice. You reprogram your identity and reinforce your new way of living. With every step, you're proving to yourself that you are no longer the person you used to be. And as that evidence builds, your confidence begins to grow. Not the kind that seeks attention or approval, but the deep, quiet confidence that comes from integrity. It's the confidence that arises from knowing you are who you say you are and trusting yourself to follow through. Real confidence doesn't come from words or external validation. It comes from action, from alignment, and from the understanding that your behavior reflects your standards. That kind of confidence is unshakable because it's rooted in the person you've become, not in fleeting results. The true reward of raising your standards isn't just the outward success you'll experience. Yes, your results will improve. Yes, your habits will become stronger. Yes, your life will start to shift. But the deepest reward comes from within. The person you become when you stop settling, when you stop making excuses, when you decide that anything less than your best is no longer acceptable. Once you've raised your standards, established structures around them, and started reinforcing them with consistent action, a new layer begins to reveal itself. This layer is the resistance between where you are now and where you want to be. Raising your standards doesn't eliminate the gap, it highlights it. It exposes the distance between your current reality and your true potential. And while this realization might feel uncomfortable at first, that discomfort is actually a gift. It's clarity, showing you the space between who you are and who you could become. It's the gap between the words you speak and the actions you take. This awareness is what drives your next level of growth, and it's the fuel for continued transformation. As you confront this gap, you'll realize that it's not a setback, but an opportunity to level up. The discomfort you feel is your invitation to push further, to dig deeper, and to rise higher. It's a sign that you're on the brink of something great. The further you stretch beyond your comfort zone, the more your potential unfolds. And as you push through that resistance, you'll notice that the gap begins to close, not because it disappears, but because you've learned to bridge it with your actions. This is where true growth happens. When the gap between where you are and where you want to be no longer feels like an obstacle, but a roadmap. The very things that once seemed impossible become achievable, not because the road got easier, but because you became stronger. And the more you keep showing up, the more you reinforce your new identity. You will begin to see that consistency is the key. It's not about one big leap. It's about the accumulation of small steps that move you forward every day. Each time you align your actions with your new standard, you're reinforcing the version of yourself that you aspire to be. You won't just get results, you'll evolve into someone who expects results, someone who thrives under pressure, and someone who consistently raises the bar for themselves. Eventually, that old resistance, the fear, the doubts, the inner voices telling you you're not enough, will fade into the background. Not because it disappears completely, but because your new actions will drown it out. You'll no longer hear those old voices as strongly, because your new standard will be the loudest voice in your life. Your actions will speak louder than your fears, and your confidence will grow from the inside out. And when you finally reach the point where that gap between your potential and your performance becomes smaller, you'll realize something profound. The journey itself was the true transformation. The person you've become, the resilience, the discipline, the unshakable belief in your ability is the most valuable thing you've gained. The results, the success, and the external rewards are merely a reflection of the internal work you've done. Now, as you look at your life, you'll see the evidence of your growth in the way you handle challenges, in the way you approach your goals, and in the way you live every day. What was once difficult will start to feel like second nature. And every time you rise, every time you face a challenge with courage, every time you stay true to your new standard, you'll see your world start to reflect that change. The people around you, the opportunities that come your way, the circumstances you encounter, everything will begin to align with the new you. The real magic happens when you realize that the new standard you've set for yourself is not just a goal you achieve. It's a way of life. It's no longer something you have to chase, but something you embody. You've transformed not just your life, but who you are at your core. And as you continue to raise your standards, you'll find that you're no longer striving for success. Success is now a natural outcome of who you've become. So keep going. Keep raising your standards. Keep pushing through the discomfort. Because every moment you choose to act in alignment with your highest self, you are creating a life that reflects the greatness within you. And that is the life you were always meant to live. The gap between who you are now and who you're capable of becoming isn't a form of punishment. It's an invitation for growth. When you embrace that space, stop avoiding the truth and stop pretending, something profound takes place. You begin to reclaim your power. The moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop diminishing your own potential. Most people don't fail because of external circumstances. They fail because they deceive themselves. They tell themselves they're doing their best when they're not. They convince themselves they're committed when in reality they aren't. They point fingers at external factors rather than confronting the internal truth. But high achievers, those who live by extraordinary standards, don't play that game. They hold themselves accountable, not to tear themselves down, but to build something genuine and lasting. Honesty with oneself is the foundation of transformation. So you begin to hold yourself to a higher standard. You notice when you're slipping, when your standards start to bend, and you don't justify it. You don't make excuses. You hold the line. In doing this, you develop something that many never truly learn: self-respect. When you raise your standards and commit to living by them, something shifts within you. You begin to trust yourself and believe in your own potential, not because of what others think, but because you know deep down you're in alignment with your true self. This self-respect empowers you. You no longer need external validation. You stop lowering your standards to please others. You stop apologizing for wanting more, doing more, and becoming more. And in that realization, you discover something important. The power you've been seeking has always been within you. It wasn't external, waiting to be found. It was simply waiting to be activated. And the key to unlocking that power is your standards. What you expect of yourself, what you demand from yourself, and what you refuse to tolerate from yourself. When you start living up to your higher standards, something else shifts within you, a sense of unshakable confidence. Not the type of confidence that is built on external praise or validation, but the kind that comes from knowing you are in full alignment with your inner values and potential. It's a quiet strength that rises from within, rooted in the consistency of your actions and the clarity of your purpose. As you continue to meet your new standards, you begin to redefine what's possible for yourself. You no longer settle for mediocrity because you understand that greatness is a choice you make every single day. Your actions reflect your beliefs. And each choice you make takes you one step closer to the person you are becoming. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. There will be moments of doubt, moments where the old version of you tries to resurface, tempting you to revert back to what's comfortable. But the difference now is that you're no longer governed by old patterns. Your new standard becomes the driving force in your life, and it serves as a compass to guide you through challenges. Instead of letting distractions or setbacks derail you, you now use them as opportunities for growth. You don't see failure as a reflection of your worth, but as a chance to refine your standards even further. Every setback becomes a stepping stone, each one teaching you something invaluable about resilience, commitment, and perseverance. As you rise to meet your new standard, you'll find that your environment begins to change too. Your habits will evolve, your relationships will shift, and your overall energy will transform. The people around you will either rise with you or fall away, and that's part of the process. As you grow into your new standard, you naturally attract those who are aligned with your journey and are willing to support you in your pursuit of greatness. Your internal transformation also leads to external results. What once seemed out of reach becomes attainable because your new standard sets a higher bar for what's possible. You no longer settle for average performance or outcomes because your actions now reflect a deeper commitment to excellence. This is the power of raising your standards. It changes everything from the way you see yourself to the way the world responds to you. You don't just achieve more, you become more. And in that process, you unlock the life you were meant to live, not by force, but by the natural alignment of your actions with your elevated standards. So when you look at your life, ask yourself, what am I demanding from myself today? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Because the life you want begins the moment you choose to elevate your standard. It's not just about achieving more. It's about becoming the person capable of achieving the extraordinary. And that person is already within you, waiting to be activated by the standards you set for yourself. When you raise your expectations for yourself, the way you view your world shifts dramatically. Your relationships transform because people begin to treat you the way you treat yourself. As you start honoring your commitments, following through with intention, and living with clarity, you naturally attract those who share these qualities. You no longer settle for relationships that are unbalanced, nor do you accept disrespect. Your new standard acts as a filter, and anything that doesn't align with it naturally fades out of your life. Your environment begins to reflect your growth. You no longer waste time in places or with people that drain you. You stop feeding your mind with negativity and start filling it with things that nurture your development. Your life becomes intentionally designed to support your journey, not because someone else said so, but because you've decided that your surroundings must mirror your evolving self. You start treating your time as sacred. No longer will you spend hours on distractions or say yes to things that don't align with your true purpose. You begin to see time as an investment in your future, and you protect it with everything you've got. As for your habits, they no longer feel like obligations. They become privileges. You no longer do them to avoid pain or to impress others. You do them because they reflect who you are now. The person who shows up, follows through, and leads themselves. And here's the most powerful part. When you consistently live at a higher standard, you begin to influence those around you without even trying. People notice. They feel the energy you radiate. Without having to preach, force anything, or seek recognition, you start to raise the bar in every room you enter. You become a leader, not because of a title, but because your life speaks for itself. Your consistency, clarity, and conviction are louder than words ever could be. And in turn, people either rise to meet you or step aside. Leadership begins with how you lead yourself. As you continue to live by your elevated standards, you become a living example of the power of transformation. Every action you take reinforces the message that growth, discipline, and self-respect are not just ideals, they are the foundation of your life. The more you show up at this higher level, the more you inspire others to do the same. Without needing to command attention, you create an atmosphere where excellence is the norm. Your life becomes a testament to the principle that when you raise your standards, everything around you follows suit. The people you surround yourself with either begin to match your energy or naturally fall away, creating space for those who align with your vision. You are no longer dragged down by negativity or mediocrity because you've cultivated an environment that supports your highest aspiration. The more you raise your standards, the less willing you become to tolerate anything that falls short. Whether it's the way you treat yourself, the way others treat you, or the way you invest your time and energy, you begin to make non-negotiable decisions that serve your vision of who you are becoming. You no longer seek external validation. Your validation comes from the deep internal knowing that you're living in alignment with your truest self. And the most incredible part is that this transformation is not just about achieving external results. It's about becoming a person who no longer needs to fight for success. You are success. You are a person who operates at a level that's too high for mediocrity to touch. You've become your highest standard, and as a result, success is not a destination you chase. It's a way of being that radiates from within. Your ability to lead yourself empowers you to lead others. It may not always be obvious to those around you, but as you continue living by your new standards, your influence grows. People start to follow you, not because they have to, but because they see the clarity and integrity in your actions. Your life is the example, your consistency the lesson. Without speaking a word, you lead by showing what is possible. When you commit to living at a level that refuses to settle for anything less than greatness. In this process, you discover that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. Your potential expands, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you've made the decision to rise above your old limitations. You understand that the power to change your life lies within you, and it starts with what you demand of yourself every day. This is the journey of growth, the journey where your standards become the blueprint for everything you achieve. Leadership begins with self-mastery. No one will follow someone who doesn't lead themselves first. True leadership isn't about being flawless, but about showing up consistently, owning your growth, and refusing to make excuses. When challenges arise, and they will, true leaders don't buckle under pressure. They don't lower their standards to fit their circumstances. Instead, they increase their effort to meet those standards, pushing forward with persistence and resilience. It's not about finding the easy way out. It's about committing to never give up. Living with high standards doesn't necessarily make life easier, but it brings clarity. You begin to see things that were once hidden from view, the excuses you used to make, the time you squandered, the moments you traded comfort for progress. This awareness can be uncomfortable at first because you start to confront the areas where you've held yourself back, the places where you've chosen convenience over growth. But this honest reflection is necessary because growth requires truth. To move forward, you must confront what's real, not the stories you've told yourself, not the edited version of your life, but the truth. Where have you been cutting corners? Where have you been lying to yourself? Where have you opted for ease over excellence? Avoiding the truth keeps you stuck. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Most people remain in a state of stagnation, not because they lack potential, but because they avoid facing the truth. They believe that ignoring their flaws will protect them, but in reality, avoidance is what holds them back. Your standards are built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no rewards, just the decisions you make in alignment with your values. The people who live at the highest levels of achievement don't negotiate with their standards. They don't waver based on circumstances or discomfort. They hold firm to their commitment to excellence every single day. They don't need an audience to perform, nor do they seek external validation to maintain their discipline. Their true reward comes from within, a quiet, unwavering pride that arises from knowing they've done the work regardless of recognition. This kind of pride, rooted in self-respect, is invaluable. It doesn't fade or rely on others. It strengthens over time, becoming a constant source of power. However, this pride is only cultivated when you set the bar high and refuse to lower it. When you stop allowing your mood to dictate your standards. True commitment isn't measured by how you feel. It's measured by your ability to do what you said you would do. Each time you follow through, you reinforce your standard, sending a clear message to yourself: no turning back. Every time you push through and do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it, you solidify your new identity. Over time, this identity becomes second nature. What once felt challenging becomes effortless. What was once a struggle becomes routine, and effort becomes automatic. This process is driven by repetition. Repetition shapes your identity. Repetition makes it real. But this requires patience, which is where many people falter. They expect instant results, craving quick change. When they don't see immediate outcomes, they question the process and believe it's not working. But the truth is, change is happening. It just begins internally before manifesting externally. If you can trust this process, if you can continue showing up, doing the work, and honoring your standards, even when results aren't immediately visible, you'll reach a point where the growth becomes undeniable. Eventually, the transformation will be so ingrained that it won't feel like a dramatic shift. By then, it will simply be who you are, and you won't feel like you're trying anymore. At that point, your actions will align with your identity so seamlessly that your growth feels natural. You will no longer be operating in a space of struggle or forced effort, because the work will have become a reflection of your true self. What used to take conscious effort will now be a part of you. It's no longer about trying to be someone. It's about being who you've consistently shown up as, day after day. Your commitment to your standards will become non-negotiable. You won't second guess whether you're doing enough or if you're doing it right, because you will have established a rhythm, a flow. Your confidence will no longer be tied to external recognition or results. It will come from the consistent alignment between what you say and what you do. The world around you may change, but your inner strength, rooted in your unshakable standards, will remain constant. People will begin to notice not just the results you've achieved, but the quiet power that comes from your consistency. Your growth won't just be visible to you, it will be undeniable to others as well. But what's most remarkable is that it won't feel like a transformation to you anymore. It will feel like who you've always been. The more you live according to your higher standards, the more you will shed the old version of yourself, the one who doubted, hesitated, and allowed external circumstances to dictate your pace. The new you will thrive, not because things are perfect, but because you have learned to master your inner world. You have become someone who no longer negotiates with mediocrity, someone who shows up no matter the circumstance. And that, in itself, is the ultimate reward. Ultimately, this journey is about building a life on your own terms. It's about showing up for yourself, committing to your standards, and making decisions that reflect your best self. Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. The world may challenge you, but you will face each challenge with the resilience that comes from knowing you've built your foundation from the ground up. And with that strength, there is no limit to what you can achieve. Without that firm decision, that moment when you stop settling, when you stop accepting less than what you're truly capable of, it's the turning point where you stop waiting for external circumstances to dictate your success and start taking ownership of your journey. Raising your standard is a commitment to yourself, a promise that you will no longer let your past patterns define your future. It's the decision to evolve, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for your growth. You no longer rely on motivation to get you through, because your standards have become your driving force. When your standard is set at excellence, mediocrity no longer has a place in your life. When your standard is personal growth, stagnation no longer has power over you. When your standard is integrity, excuses fade away. And that's when true transformation begins. Your actions will no longer be dictated by fleeting emotions. They will be grounded in your newly established identity. And this shift is what makes you unstoppable. You've always had the potential to change your life, but it begins with raising your standards. The power was never outside of you. It was always within. The key was in deciding that where you were no longer aligned with your highest self and choosing right then and there to live up to the full extent of your potential. From that moment on, your growth becomes inevitable. Your new standard is your own authority. You won't be waiting for the right moment. You will create it. And once you've made this decision, everything in your life will begin to shift accordingly. Your actions will align, your results will follow, and your identity will evolve to match the highest standard you've set. As you continue to uphold your higher standard, the growth becomes exponential. Every action, every decision, every moment of discipline contributes to the person you are becoming. The more you show up with consistency, the more effortless it becomes. What once felt like a struggle will now feel like second nature. This shift doesn't just happen in your actions. It transforms the way you see yourself. You start to expect more from yourself and from life. You stop tolerating anything less than your best, not because you're trying to prove anything to anyone, but because you've come to realize that you deserve your best. You will see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to level up. You won't be discouraged by setbacks or delays because you know your standard is unwavering and setbacks are merely part of the process of growth. Every time you fall, you rise stronger. Every time you face doubt, you push through it with even more determination. Your resilience becomes your greatest asset. The more you reinforce this higher standard, the more you align with your true potential. Your life becomes a reflection of the clarity, commitment, and self-respect you've cultivated within. The ripple effect is inevitable. Your elevated standard influences everyone around you. You'll attract people who match your energy, who are inspired by your commitment, and who challenge themselves to rise alongside you. Those who were once a distraction will naturally fall away because they no longer resonate with the higher vibration you've created. Your circle will naturally shift to align with your newfound vision for life. You no longer have to chase success. It will come to you because you are embodying the qualities of someone who is already living it. You won't need validation from others because the internal satisfaction of honoring your standard will be enough. Your life will speak for itself, and the results will be undeniable. At the core of this transformation is the decision you made to stop living by old, limiting standards. That moment when you drew the line in the sand was not just a moment of clarity, it was the moment that began to reshape everything. Your new life, the one you've always desired, is no longer something you're waiting for. It's something you're actively creating every day. And as you continue to rise, you will begin to see just how much more you're capable of. The higher you go, the clearer you see. You will recognize the patterns that once held you back and will move past them effortlessly. The growth will become a part of who you are, and you'll no longer recognize the person you used to be. This is the beauty of living by higher standards. Life stops happening to you, and you begin to happen to life. Your new standard doesn't just shape your actions, it shapes your entire existence. And in the process, you unlock doors that were once closed, achieving things you once thought impossible. The best part, this is just the beginning. Because once you've set that bar high and fully committed to it, there's no telling just how far you'll go. You are your own limit. And as you continue to break through your own boundaries, you'll create a life that not only meets your highest expectations, but exceeds them. This is the power of raising your standard. This is the power of becoming who you were always meant to be. Unless backed by a new standard, no breakthrough can truly endure. No transformation becomes lasting until your identity, actions, discipline, and expectations are aligned. Achieving this alignment doesn't happen through sheer willpower. It happens when you raise your baseline. You must shift what you consider acceptable, refuse to revert to the old level that once felt familiar, and elevate the floor, not just the ceiling. While the rest of the world hits snooze, stumbles out of bed, and drowns in distractions, you operate with clarity, purpose, and momentum. What's the difference? The secret lies in your morning routine. The most successful people on the planet, CEOs, elite athletes, artists, and visionaries, don't leave their mornings to chance. They design them with intention. Your first waking hours set the tone for everything that follows. Will you let the day happen to you, or will you command it with deliberate action? Science and success stories alike prove it. A powerful morning routine doesn't just boost productivity, it rewires your mindset, builds unshakable discipline, and unlocks levels of achievement you once thought were out of reach. This is your wake-up call. If you don't design your morning, someone else will design your day for you. The question is, what will you do with your? Imagine this, you wake up before the sun rises. The world is still quiet, no distractions, no chaos. Just you and the blank canvas of a brand new day. While most people are stuck in the fog of groggy mornings, hitting snooze until the last possible second, you're already ahead. Because here's the truth. The first hour of your day doesn't just start your day, it steals it. Now, I'm not just talking about waking up early for the sake of it. This isn't about becoming some robotic morning person who drinks kale smoothies at 5 a.m. This is about leverage. The most successful people on earth, CEOs, elite athletes, artists, and world changers, don't just have morning routines, they weaponize them. Let me hit you with some science, because this isn't just motivational fluff. Harvard researchers found that habit formation literally rewires your brain. Every time you repeat a morning ritual, whether it's exercise, meditation, or reading, you're carving neural pathways that make discipline automatic. It's like building a highway in your mind where success becomes the default route. And here's the kicker. Your willpower is strongest in the morning. Roy Baumeister, a leading psychologist, proved that willpower is like a muscle. It fatigues as the day goes on. Every decision you make, from what to eat to how to respond to stress, drains it. But right after you wake up, that's when you're at peak mental strength. That's when you can decide to work out instead of scrolling, to plan your day instead of reacting to it. And it's not just willpower. Your biology is screaming at you to take advantage of the morning. Cortisol, your body's natural alertness hormone, peaks within 30 minutes of waking up. Testosterone, the drive and energy hormone, is highest in the early hours. That means your brain and body are literally primed for focus, creativity, and action if you use it. But most people waste it. They roll out of bed, grab their phone, and let the world's chaos hijack their focus before they've even had a sip of water. They start the day defensive instead of dominant. And that's the difference between people who live their dreams and people who just dream of living. So here's my question for you. If the first hour of your day is the most powerful, if it sets the tone for everything that comes after, why would you leave it to chance? Get ready to discover the 7 powerful routines to start the day. 1, speak life with positive affirmations. Start your day by declaring truth over your life before your feet even hit the floor. Don't let your first thoughts be fear, frustration, or fatigue. Speak to your soul. Command your atmosphere. Say what God says about you, not what your circumstances suggest. Speak affirmations rooted in faith, identity, and divine purpose. When you declare, I am strong, I am favored, I am walking in purpose today, you're not just saying words, you're activating spiritual authority. Because here's the truth, your words are not casual, they are creative. They frame your reality, set your emotional tone, and shift your inner atmosphere. If you wake up saying, I'm tired, I can't handle this, nothing ever works, you program your mind to agree with defeat. But if you rise and declare, I am empowered by grace, I am equipped for every challenge, I am more than a conqueror. Your spirit aligns with heaven, and heaven responds. Don't let the world define you with its noise, pressure, or comparison traps. Define your world with the power of your voice. Don't wait for the day to tell you how to feel. You tell the day who's in charge. Your tongue is not just a tool for communication, it's a weapon for creation. The Bible says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Proverbs 18:21. That means your words are seeds. What you speak today, you will live tomorrow. So be intentional, be prophetic, be faithful. Wake up and declare, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I walk in divine health, favor, and supernatural peace. Doors of opportunity are opening before me. I have the mind of Christ, and I think with clarity and purpose. This is not just motivation, this is spiritual alignment. Watch what happens when you stop letting your day speak to you and start speaking to your day. And now that your words are aligned, connect to the source of life himself. 2, connect with God in prayer and scripture. Before the texts start buzzing, before the emails flood in, before the demands of the day pull you in a dozen directions, pause and plug into the source of all life. Don't rush into your day fueled by caffeine and chaos. Start by fueling your soul. Your spirit needs nourishment more than your phone needs a charge. What you receive in the secret place will carry you through the public pressure. Prayer isn't a routine. It's a relationship. It's where your worries are exchanged for wisdom, your fears are traded for faith, and your confusion gives way to clarity. Even a few moments in God's presence can completely realign your heart. You don't need an hour. You need intentionality. Sit still, breathe deep, and talk to the one who holds your day in his hands. Lay your concerns before him and listen. Yes, listen, because prayer isn't just about speaking, it's about hearing. And then Open the Word of God. Not casually, but expectantly. Don't read the Bible like a book. Read it like a letter from your Father. Every line contains strength, strategy, and supernatural peace. God has a rhema word for you daily, a timely, personal whisper that becomes your compass. In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. Psalm 5:3, NIV. God delights in meeting with you in the morning. When you give him your first moments, you give him the authority to guide the rest of your day. That connection is more than a habit. It's an anchor. Without it, you drift into overwhelm and uncertainty. But with it, you soar on purpose and peace. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105, KJV. Let his word illuminate your steps. Let his presence become your atmosphere. And let his voice drown out the noise of the world. Because once your spirit is aligned with heaven, you can face anything on earth. Now that your soul is centered and your heart is open, it's time to posture yourself for overflow. Number 3, practice gratitude journaling. Before your mind starts racing with everything you have to do, pause and reflect on what you get to be thankful for. Take a quiet moment and write down 3 things you're grateful for, big or small, ordinary or miraculous. It might sound simple, but don't underestimate its power. Gratitude is a mindset shifter and a spiritual weapon. It lifts your eyes off what's lacking and locks them onto what's lasting. When you train your soul to notice blessings, you unlock joy. You stop waking up with complaints and start rising with celebration. Because even in the tension, there's treasure. Even in the struggle, there's still something sacred. Gratitude breaks the back of discouragement, crushes the spirit of entitlement, invites more of God's goodness into your awareness. And here's the truth: what you focus on multiplies. When you meditate on blessings, you attract more of what you recognize. That's why the enemy works overtime to blind you to the good. He wants you grumbling, comparing, and resenting. But when you choose gratitude, you choose spiritual clarity. You remember who God is and who you are in him. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 NIV. Gratitude isn't passive, it's powerful. It's how you fight anxiety. It's how you guard your joy. And it's how you walk into your day with a heart prepared to receive. So grab your journal and start with 3 things you're thankful for today. Watch how your mindset shifts. Watch how your spirit lifts. And with that sense of joy and clarity, you're now ready to take hold of your inner vision. 4, take control of your inner vision. Now that your heart is anchored in gratitude, it's time to set your internal compass. What are you seeing on the inside? Because here's the truth: before anything manifests in your life, it is first conceived in your mind. Your inner vision creates your outer reality. If you don't intentionally focus your vision, life and the enemy will give you one by default: fear, limitation, shame, failure. But when you intentionally visualize victory, success, purpose, and impact, you begin to align your life with God's plan, not just your plan. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself walking boldly in your calling. See yourself confident, focused, healthy, thriving, and full of purpose. Don't just wish it. See it with faith. Why? Because what you repeatedly picture, you move toward. Your imagination is not childish. It's God-given. It's the canvas of your faith. When you take control of your vision, you stop living reactively and start living prophetically. You become the architect of your day, not just a passive observer. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Proverbs 29:18, vision gives direction. It breathes life into discipline. It puts power behind your goals. Without it, you drift. With it, you drive. So ask yourself, what kind of person am I becoming? What does God want to accomplish through me today? How do I need to show up to live in alignment with that vision? Speak it, see it, walk in it. Because when your internal vision is strong, the external noise loses its power. Now, with your vision clear, it's time to move into intentional action that keeps you aligned. 5, move your body with purpose. You've prayed, declared, reflected, and envisioned. Now it's time to get moving. Literally, your body was designed to move, and movement is not just physical, it's spiritual. When you rise and move your body with intention, you awaken more than muscles. You awaken momentum, discipline, and clarity. Stretch, walk, dance, exercise. Whatever you do, don't stay stagnant. Stagnation in the body leads to stagnation in the mind. But movement signals to your soul that it's time to rise, conquer, and show up with power. You don't have to run a marathon. You just need to show your body that you're in agreement with what your spirit has already declared. When you move with purpose, you reinforce your identity as someone who is alive, strong, and ready. There's something sacred about using your body to honor God. Not just in worship, but in stewardship. You are not separate from your body. You are entrusted with it. And when you treat it with care, discipline, and movement, you honor the one who created it. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. 1 Corinthians 6:19 NIV. Yes, your body is a temple. And when you move it, you remind yourself that this temple has purpose. It has strength. It has value. You silence sluggishness and align your energy with the focus you've already set in prayer, scripture, gratitude, and vision. And beyond the physical benefits like improved energy, better health, and clearer thinking, moving your body disciplines your will. It's a declaration. I control my day. I won't be ruled by laziness, excuses, or feelings. So take action. Walk outside and let the sun hit your face. Do a 10-minute workout or stretch to wake your strength. Dance with joy because you're alive and chosen for this day. Don't just move. Move with purpose. Move like someone going somewhere. And as you do, your momentum in the spirit and in the natural will collide and push you into divine alignment. Now, with your body in motion and your spirit in sync, you're ready for the final step, setting your focus for the day. 6, set your focus and intentions for the day. Now that your spirit is aligned, your heart is grateful, your vision is clear, and your body is energized, it's time to command your day with clarity and conviction. Don't just drift into your schedule. Decide who you're going to be and how you're going to show up. Set your focus, anchor your priorities, Name your intentions. Ask yourself, what must get done today to honor my purpose? What distractions must I guard against? How do I want to feel by the end of this day? When you move through life without focus, everything feels urgent and nothing feels meaningful. But when you set intentions, you move with strategy, not stress. You stop reacting and start ruling. Start by writing down 3 clear intentions for your day, spiritually, emotionally, and practically. For example, today I choose peace over pressure. Today I will complete my assignment without procrastination. Today I will be fully present with my loved ones. These aren't just goals, they're soul commitments. And when you make them in alignment with God's will, they carry divine backing. You're not just chasing productivity, you're pursuing purpose. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. Proverbs 16:3, NIV. You don't need to have the whole week figured out. Just commit this day. Just say, God, here's what I'm bringing before you. Guide me, lead me, help me follow through. And then walk boldly in that commitment. Focus is your filter. It helps you say yes to what matters and no to what distracts. And intention is your compass. It keeps your mind aligned with your mission, even when life gets noisy. So don't just hope today turns out well. Declare how it will go. Speak it, plan it, step into it with purpose. Because when you begin your morning with God, gratitude, vision, movement, and focus, you don't just survive the day, you master it. And number 7, serve with love and intention. Now that you've prepared your spirit, mind, and body, it's time to pour out. Because the morning routine isn't just about you. It's about who you become for others. Greatness isn't measured by what you accumulate. It's revealed in how you serve. Start your day asking, who can I bless today? How can I bring light, not just take space? Where is God calling me to be a vessel, not just a receiver? Whether it's a word of encouragement, a listening ear, an act of kindness, or simply showing up with excellence at work or home. Make it your mission to serve with love. Your purpose is tied to people. And when you make someone else's load lighter, you step into divine significance. And here's the secret. Serving doesn't drain you, it strengthens you. Why? Because when your heart is open, God flows through you. He gives seed to the sower, strength to the selfless, and joy to those who give freely. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. Proverbs 11:25. But you were never meant to keep the overflow to yourself. What God does in you each morning is meant to spill into every interaction. Let your smile minister. Let your words heal. Let your actions reflect the love of Christ. Service isn't about having the perfect moment. It's about being available in ordinary ones. Don't underestimate your presence. Sometimes your obedience is the miracle someone else is praying for. So today, as you step out into your assignments, do it with intention. Serve with excellence. Love without condition. And let the fruit of your morning overflow into the world around you. Think about the last time you had one of those days where everything just clicked. You were focused, energized, unstoppable. Now, was that luck? Or did you create it? Because here's what nobody tells you. Those perfect days don't happen by accident. They're engineered. And it all starts the moment you open your eyes. Let me ask you something. When you wake up tomorrow, who's in control? You or the notifications on your phone? the rushed chaos of running late, the mental fog of just 5 more minutes. Because here's the brutal truth. If you don't own your morning, you're renting your life from distractions. The science doesn't lie. That Harvard study on habit formation, it proves something revolutionary. You can hack your brain to crave success. Every morning ritual, whether it's 10 minutes of meditation or writing down your goals, is like depositing discipline into your mental bank account, and the interest compounds. Miss one day, no big deal. But stack 30, 60, 90 days, that's when you become unrecognizable to your old self. And here's the secret weapon you're not using. Your biology is begging you to act in those early hours. Cortisol sharpens your focus like nature's espresso. Testosterone fuels your drive. This isn't woo-woo self-help. This is human design. Yet 95% of people squander this golden window checking emails they'll forget by noon or doom scrolling through someone else's highlight reel. The most dangerous lie we believe? I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow isn't some magical land where motivation appears. Winners don't wait for inspiration. They manufacture it at 6 a.m. while everyone else is asleep. They know something most don't. Small habits, repeated daily, don't just change your routine, they change your identity. So let me challenge you. Tomorrow morning, before the world gets its hands on you, steal back just 10 minutes. 10 minutes to move, to think, to plan your attack on the day. That's all it takes to start the chain reaction, because here's the ultimate truth about morning routines. They're not about waking up earlier. They're about waking up better. And when you do that consistently, that's when you stop chasing life and start leading it. So stay with me as we unpack something powerful, the ripple effect of a strong start. Imagine dropping a single pebble into a still pond. That tiny splash creates ripples that travel far beyond where it first hit the water. Now think about your morning. That first hour, that's your pebble. And here's what most people miss. Those small, seemingly insignificant choices you make at dawn don't just affect your morning. They send ripples through your entire day, your week, your life. Let me show you how this works in real life. Every time you choose to make your bed, to drink that glass of water first thing, to spend just 5 minutes planning your day, these aren't isolated wins. They're compound gains, stacking one on top of another like bricks building a fortress of discipline. Olympic athletes know this secret. Navy SEALs live by it. Why? Because small wins create unstoppable momentum. That feeling of I've already won by 7 a.m., that's fuel for the rest of your day. But here's where it gets really interesting. Every decision you don't have to make in the morning is mental energy saved for what truly matters. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Barack Obama eliminated trivial choices about what to eat for breakfast. Why? Because decision fatigue is real, and it's stealing your potential. When you automate your morning, you're not being robotic, you're being strategic. You're preserving your best mental energy for the decisions that will actually move the needle in your life. Which brings me to the 80 per 20 rule of mornings. Listen closely. 20% of your morning habits are driving 80% of your results. Maybe for you it's that 10-minute meditation. Maybe it's writing your top 3 priorities. Maybe it's simply avoiding a phone for the first hour. The magic isn't in doing everything perfectly. It's in identifying and doubling down on those vital few habits that create disproportionate results. Think about your own life for a moment. Can you pinpoint one morning habit that, if you did it consistently, would change everything? That's your ripple effect waiting to happen. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Success isn't about grand sweeping gestures. It's about the quiet, consistent choices you make before the world is even awake. Those choices, they're your pebbles. And the ripples they create, that's the life you're building. one morning at a time. Let me paint you a picture of two different mornings. In the first, your alarm goes off and you immediately grab your phone. Emails, texts, social media. Your brain is hijacked before your feet even hit the floor. You rush through your routine, skip breakfast, and spend your commute stressed about everything you need to do. By 9 a.m., you're already exhausted, playing catch up before your day has really begun. Now imagine a different morning. You wake up and take 3 deep breaths before getting out of bed. You say your prayers, then read your scripture, even if it's 5 minutes. You drink a glass of water, spend 5 minutes journaling your priorities and move your body, even if it's just stretching. You eat a real breakfast, without screens. When you arrive at work, you're clear, focused, and in control. Here's the uncomfortable truth. That first scenario isn't just a bad morning, it's a recipe for a bad life. Because how you start your day doesn't just affect those first few hours. It sets the entire trajectory of everything that follows. When you begin in chaos, you spend the rest of your day reacting instead of leading. Your brain gets stuck in survival mode, constantly putting out fires instead of moving you forward. And that phone, let's talk about that. When you check your phone first thing, you're essentially letting strangers and algorithms decide how you feel and what you think about. You're outsourcing your precious morning mental space to everyone else's priorities before you've even had a chance to consider your own. Studies show it can take up to 4 hours to regain deep focus after that initial digital hit. 4 hours. That's half your workday gone before it even begins. I work with a client, Mark, who was constantly stressed and behind at work. When we looked at his mornings, here's what we found. He'd wake up, immediately check work emails in bed, then rush through a coffee while scrolling news alerts. By the time he got to the office, his mind was already scattered in 10 different directions. We made one change: no screens for the first hour. And within 2 weeks, his productivity increased by 30%. 30% just from reclaiming that first golden hour. This is the hidden cost most people never calculate. That rushed, distracted morning isn't free. You pay for it all day long in lost focus, mounting stress, and missed opportunities. But here's the good news. Just as bad mornings compound negatively, good mornings compound positively. The choice is yours. Will you let your mornings happen to you, or will you design them to work for you? Let me tell you about the secret weapon the world's most successful people wield every single day. Now, this is how to build your ideal morning routine. The pillars of a powerful morning. It's not some fancy degree or privileged upbringing. It's their morning routine. But here's what most people get wrong. An effective morning ritual isn't about cramming in more tasks before sunrise. It's about strategically activating 5 core pillars that transform you into the most focused, energized, and unstoppable version of yourself. First comes movement. And no, I'm not talking about running a marathon at 5 a.m. Just 5 minutes of intentional movement, whether it's stretching, yoga, or a brisk walk, triggers a flood of dopamine, nature's motivation molecule. It's like giving your brain an espresso shot without the jitters. That simple act tells your body, we're awake now, and we mean business. Then we shift to mindset. This is where winners separate themselves from the pack. Just 60 seconds of deep breathing, 2 minutes of journaling, or 3 positive affirmations can create an unshakable mental foundation. Think of it as installing armor against the day's inevitable challenges before they even appear. Now comes mastery, the most overlooked superpower. Spending just 10 minutes reading, learning a new skill, or practicing something meaningful creates compound interest for your brain. Imagine gaining an extra 60 hours of learning this year just by dedicating those precious morning minutes when your mind is most receptive. Vision is where the magic happens. Taking 2 minutes to review your goals and set priorities is like programming your internal GPS. Without this, you'll spend your day driving in circles. With it, you become a heat-seeking missile for what truly matters. And finally, metabolism, the foundation we so often neglect. Drinking water first thing rehydrates a brain that's been fasting all night. Eating a protein-rich breakfast isn't just about nutrition. It's about stabilizing your energy so you don't crash by mid-morning. Here's what's fascinating. You don't need hours to implement this. The most effective morning routines often take less than 30 minutes total. The key is consistency in these 5 areas. Because when you move your body, focus your mind, sharpen your skills, clarify your purpose, and fuel your engine, you don't just have a good morning. You create a life where every day bends in the direction of your ambition. So let me ask you, which of these 5 pillars are you currently missing? And more importantly, what would change if you implemented just one of them starting tomorrow? Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, that sounds great, but my mornings are chaos. I barely have time to brush my teeth before running out the door. Here's the truth bomb. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. or completely overhaul your life overnight. The most powerful morning routines start with small, intentional wins that create massive ripple effects. Let me break this down in a way that will change everything for you. That movement pillar, it could be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths while still in bed, then stretching your arms overhead for 30 seconds. That's it. You've just activated your nervous system better than 99% of people who jump straight into their phones. The mindset work. Grab a notebook and write 1 sentence, just one, about how you want to show up today. Today, I will be patient. Today, I will focus deeply. That single sentence becomes your anchor when storms hit later in the day. Mastery doesn't require reading an entire book before breakfast. Listen to 5 minutes of an educational podcast while making your coffee. Watch 1 short tutorial related to your craft. These micro doses of learning compound into expertise that sets you apart over time. This mission is where most people stumble. They think they need elaborate goal-setting sessions. Here's what actually works. Ask yourself, if I accomplish just one thing today, what would make the biggest impact? Write that down. Everything else is bonus. And metabolism? Start with this revolutionary act. Drink a glass of water before anything else. Your dehydrated brain will thank you by functioning 14% better all morning. Then, if you can manage it, eat something. Anything. With protein within an hour of waking. The secret isn't perfection, it's progression. The most successful people aren't doing all 5 pillars perfectly every morning. They're simply doing some version of them consistently. Some days it might be 20 minutes of yoga and deep journaling. Other days it's chugging water while reviewing priorities in the shower. What matters is showing up for yourself first, before the world makes its demands. Here's my challenge to you. Tomorrow morning, pick just one of these pillars to implement. Just one. Notice how it changes your day. Then add another. Within a week, you'll start your days feeling like you've already won, and that energy carries through everything you do. Because when you control your morning, you don't just control your day, you begin controlling your destiny. Let me tell you a secret that will set you free. Your morning routine wasn't meant to look like anyone else's. Just as Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Your ideal morning rhythm is uniquely yours to discover. The world tries to sell you this lie that you must wake up at 5 a.m. like some corporate guru or meditate for an hour like a monk to be successful. But here's the truth. Your morning routine should fit you like a custom-tailored suit, not some off-the-rack solution that chafes your soul. Now let's settle this once and for all. Are you truly a night owl forcing yourself to be an early bird? Science shows your chronotype, that natural rhythm wired into your DNA, determines when you're at your best. Like David in Psalm 139:14, you were fearfully and wonderfully made with your own perfect timing. If your brain fires on all cylinders at 10 p.m., stop beating yourself up for not being a sunrise warrior. Instead, design a morning that works with your biology, not against it. Maybe your power hour begins at 8 a.m. with slow intention, rather than 5 a.m. with militant discipline. And let's talk time. Whether you have 5 minutes or 60, the key is making those minutes count. A CEO, mother of 3, doesn't have the same morning bandwidth as a college student, but here's what they can both do. Identify their non-negotiable anchor, that one practice that centers them. For some, it's 60 seconds of deep breathing. For others, it's a full workout. Your routine should stretch to fit your life's current season, not snap you in half trying to meet unrealistic expectations. Energy levels tell the real story. Some people wake up ready to conquer Mount Everest before breakfast. Others need gradual warm-up like a luxury car on a cold morning. Neither is wrong, just different designs requiring different approaches. The high-energy types might launch straight into exercise, while slow starters may need 15 minutes of quiet reading before their engines turn over. Here's your liberation. There are as many ways to craft a powerful morning as there are people in this room. The magic happens when you stop copying someone else's routine and start listening to your own design. So tonight before bed, ask yourself this revolutionary question: what would a morning that actually works for me look like? Then dare to create it, because when your routine aligns with who you truly are, that's when transformation begins. Now, I want you to imagine something profound with me. Picture 2 farmers standing in their fields at dawn. One wakes up before sunrise, singing as he works the soil with energetic purpose. The other rises later, moving methodically under the midday sun with quiet determination. Both bring in abundant harvests, not because they followed the same schedule, but because they understood their unique rhythms and worked with them. This is the wisdom of Proverbs 16:9 coming to life. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Your morning routine isn't about forcing yourself into someone else's mold. It's about discovering the sacred rhythm that allows your best self to emerge. Let me speak directly to those of you who felt like failures, because you can't sustain that picture-perfect 5 a.m. routine you saw on Instagram. That crushing guilt, it's based on a lie. The research is clear. Only about 15% of people are genetically wired to be true early birds. Another 20% are night owls. The rest of us fall somewhere in between. This isn't about weakness or laziness. It's about divine design. Just as Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 12 about the body having many parts with different functions. Your optimal morning rhythm is part of how you've been fearfully crafted. Here's what changes everything: when you stop fighting your nature and start working with it. If you're a slow starter, your morning might begin with gentle stretching and inspirational reading rather than high-intensity workouts. If you're a burst of energy at dawn, you might dive straight into creative work while your mind is fresh. The measure of a successful morning isn't when you wake up or how much you cram in. It's how aligned your routine is with how you're wired. I want to challenge you to conduct a 7-day experiment. Each morning, check in with yourself, not with what some productivity guru says you should feel, but with what's actually true for you. Notice when your energy naturally peaks. Observe what activities truly fuel you versus what drains you. Discover whether you need quiet reflection or vigorous movement to start your day right. This isn't selfish, it's stewardship. When you honor how you're made, you honor the one who made you. Because here's the beautiful truth. Your ideal morning isn't out there in some self-help book. It's already written in your being, waiting to be uncovered. The perfect routine for you won't look like anyone else's, and that's exactly how it should be. So today, I set you free from comparison. Your morning, your rhythm, your unique design. This is where your power lives. And when you step into that truth, you don't just change your mornings, you change your life. Let me tell you about the 3 silent killers of morning routines, the mistakes that sabotage even the best intentions before they ever get off the ground. The first, enthusiasm that becomes exhaustion. We've all been there. You read an inspiring book, watch a motivational video, and suddenly your morning routine looks like a Navy SEAL training regiment, meditation, journaling, cold showers, workouts, reading. By day 3, you're exhausted, and by day 7, you've quit completely. Here's the hard truth. Willpower is like a muscle. It fatigues. The secret isn't starting with everything, it's starting with something. Just 1 or 2 keystone habits, consistently practiced, create more transformation than a dozen half-hearted efforts. The second killer is rigidity, treating your routine like prison bars rather than guardrails. Life happens. Kids get sick, work emergencies arise, travel disrupts schedules. When your routine can't bend, it will break. The most successful people don't have perfect routines, they have adaptable ones. Maybe some days your workout is 20 minutes instead of 40. Maybe some mornings your meditation happens in the car instead of your cushion. The goal isn't robotic consistency, it's directional faithfulness. But the most dangerous mistake, forgetting your why. When your morning habits become empty rituals rather than intentional steps toward your best life, they lose all power. Every habit needs an anchor, a deeper reason that pulls you out of bed when motivation fails. Is your morning routine about becoming a better parent, building a business that matters, honoring the body God gave you? Your why is the fuel that keeps your routine alive long after the initial excitement fades. Here's the beautiful paradox. The most transformative morning routines aren't complicated, they're conscious. Not perfect, but purposeful. Not rigid, but resilient. So tonight, as you prepare for tomorrow's morning, ask yourself, what's the simplest version of my ideal routine? Where can I build in grace? And most importantly, why does this matter to the person I'm becoming? Because when you fix these 3 mistakes, you don't just create a morning routine, you create a morning revolution. Let me share a revelation that changed everything for me. The most powerful morning routines aren't built on discipline alone, but on deep self-awareness. Think about this. When you try to force yourself into someone else's perfect morning template, you're not being disciplined. You're being disobedient to how you were uniquely designed. The psalmist wrote, "You knit me together in my mother's womb," and that includes your optimal morning rhythm too. Here's where most people go wrong. They treat their morning routine like a checklist to conquer rather than sacred space to connect. They cram in 15 different practices because some influencer said to, then wonder why they feel exhausted by 8 a.m. But consider this, even Jesus didn't follow the same routine every single day. Sometimes he rose early to pray alone, Mark 1:35. Other times he slept while storms raged, Mark 4:38. His rhythm was responsive, not rigid, attuned to his Father's voice rather than some arbitrary standard of productivity. The breakthrough comes when you realize your morning routine isn't about checking boxes. It's about cultivating connection. Connection to your body through movement. Connection to your purpose through intention. Connection to your Creator through stillness. When you approach it this way, your morning becomes less about doing and more about becoming. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, I want you to experiment with curiosity rather than compliance. Try different wake-up times. Test various practices. Notice what actually energizes you versus what just looks good on paper. Discover whether you thrive with quiet reflection or energetic movement first thing. Pay attention to when your mind feels clearest and your creativity flows most freely. Because here's the beautiful truth. Your perfect morning routine already exists. Not in some book or blog post, but in the unique way God wired you. Your job isn't to force yourself into someone else's mold, but to uncover the rhythm that allows your best self to emerge naturally. When you find that sweet spot where discipline meets design, that's when your mornings stop being a struggle and start being a sanctuary. Let me pull back the curtain on how high performers make their morning routines stick. Not through willpower alone, but through brilliant behavioral engineering. The secret? They don't build new habits, they sneak them into existing ones. This is what we call habit stacking. And it's so simple yet so powerful that once you see it, you'll wonder how you ever try to change your mornings any other way. Here's how it works in real life. That moment when you finish brushing your teeth. That's golden real estate. Your hand reaches for the toothpaste without thought, your brain on autopilot. What if immediately after you drop to the floor for 1 minute of stretching, just 60 seconds, no more? You're not adding something new to your morning. You're simply extending what's already there. Before long, your body will expect that stretch like it expects the minty freshness of toothpaste. Or consider this. You walk into your kitchen every morning, blary-eyed, reaching for the coffee maker. What if right beside it sat your journal, open to a fresh page, with a pen resting across it? That's not a new habit. It's an invitation your environment extends to you. The best morning routines aren't maintained by discipline, they're maintained by design. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Your brain loves patterns. It creates neural highways for repeated behaviors. When you anchor a new habit to an established one, you're essentially hitchhiking on an existing neural pathway. The resistance disappears because you're not starting from scratch. You're simply adding a detour to a route you travel every single day. Here's your challenge tonight. Identify one rock-solid existing habit in your morning. Maybe it's brewing coffee, maybe it's making your bed, and stack just one tiny new habit onto it. Not 10, not 5, 1. Make it so small it feels laughable. Because here's the counterintuitive truth. The smaller the habit, the more likely it is to become permanent. And once it's locked in, that's when you stack another. This is how ordinary people build extraordinary morning routines. Not through sweeping overhauls that crash and burn by Wednesday, but through strategic, nearly invisible upgrades that compound over time. Your future self is waiting at the end of that stack of small, smart choices. The question is, what's your first link in the chain going to be? Now let me show you how to turn these morning habits into lifelong transformations. Because what good is a routine that fades by February? The book of James gives us divine wisdom. Faith without works is dead. In the same way, morning intentions without intelligent systems are powerless. But when we combine holy discipline with heavenly wisdom, that's when miracles happen in our mornings. Here's the breakthrough strategy. Habit stacking works because God designed our brains for connection. Just as Ecclesiastes 4:12 tells us, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. When we tie new habits to existing ones, we create unbreakable chains of godly discipline. That first sip of morning coffee, make it your trigger to open your Bible app for just one verse. The walk from your bedroom to bathroom, let it become your prayer pathway where you surrender the day to God. You're not adding more to your plate. You're sanctifying what's already there. But here's where most people fail. They rely on motivation instead of environmental design. Proverbs 24:3-4 says, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. Your morning environment should be strategically filled with rare and beautiful treasures that pull you toward your best self. Place your workout clothes right on your alarm clock. Keep your journal open to today's page beside your breakfast plate. Set your phone to automatically open a worship playlist when you disable your alarm. Now let me tell you, the most powerful morning routines aren't about white-knuckling your way to discipline. They're about setting up divine appointments with your future self. When your environment conspires with your godly goals, resistance melts away. So tonight, as you prepare for tomorrow's morning, ask yourself, what one existing habit can I sanctify? What one space can I redesign to make righteousness easier? Because when you stack habits with heavenly wisdom and anchor them in holy environments, you're not just building a routine, you're constructing a sanctuary for your soul's daily transformation. Now let me share with you a divine principle that bridges the gap between fleeting motivation and lasting transformation. They say it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to make it a lifestyle. But here's what that really means in spiritual terms. When the Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, God wasn't just testing their obedience, He was rewiring their identity from slaves to conquerors. Your morning routine works the same way. Those first 21 days are your wilderness, where you prove your commitment. And the 90-day journey is where God transforms your discipline into destiny. The psalmist wrote, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." This is why tracking matters, not as a legalistic exercise, but as sacred record keeping of God's faithfulness in your life. Whether you use an app, a journal, or an accountability partner, these become altars of remembrance, like Joshua's stones from the Jordan, reminding you how far God has brought you when the enemy whispers, you should quit. Here's the supernatural secret. When you consistently show up for your morning appointment with God and your best self, something miraculous happens around day 45. What began as discipline becomes desire. What felt forced starts flowing. Why? Because you're not just building habits, you're being rebuilt. Just as Paul urges us in Romans 12:2 to be transformed by the renewing of our minds, your 90-day morning journey literally rewires your brain to crave what once required effort. So I challenge you today, don't just start a morning routine. Commission a 90-day spiritual expedition. Enlist an accountability partner who will speak life when you want to quit. Create a tracking system that celebrates small victories as holy milestones. And when day 21 comes and you're tempted to relax your grip, remember, you're not halfway to a habit, you're 1/3 of the way to a whole new identity. The promised land of effortless discipline awaits on the other side of your persistence. Let me tell you why most people never make it past day 3 of their new morning routine, and how you can not only reach day 90, but make it a permanent transformation. There's a powerful spiritual principle at work here that changes everything when you understand it. The first 21 days are your proving ground. This is where you're building spiritual muscle through consistent obedience, even when you don't feel like it. Think of Daniel, who continued praying 3 times a day, even when it meant facing the lion's den. That's the kind of faithful repetition we're talking about here. Every morning you show up. You're not just checking a box, you're engraving godly patterns into your soul. But here's where it gets exciting. The 90-day mark is where the real magic happens. This is when your morning discipline stops being something you do and starts becoming who you are. Just like David went from shepherd boy to king through daily faithfulness in the fields, your small daily victories are preparing you for greater anointing. I want you to see your tracking system as more than just progress markers. These are memorial stones of God's faithfulness in your life. When you look back after 90 days and see 90 mornings you sought God first, the 90 opportunities to strengthen your spirit, the 90 victories over your flesh, you realize You're not the same person who started this journey. The discipline has become delight. The effort has become effortless. Here's your practical strategy. 1. Choose one non-negotiable morning habit to focus on. 2. Find an accountability partner who will check in weekly. 3. Use a simple tracking method. I recommend a calendar. You can mark each successful day. 4. Celebrate every 7-day streak to stay motivated. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progression. If you miss a day, don't quit, just restart. The power is in the persistent return, not flawless performance.